and welcome to World of Travel, the podcast. Now, this is the companion to our docuseries where we explore the past, present, and future of destinations around the globe. Now, on this podcast, we get to know the people behind the travel that we love and highlight. And today we have none other than my friend, Kevin O'Leary, entrepreneur, financier, television host, investor, better known as Mr. Wonderful. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So first, I do come bearing gifts. We met a few years ago. I'll tell everybody the story. Drum rolls, please.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. My favorite kind, too.
We met a few years ago because, I don't know if you know this story. I pretty much, you were speaking at an event in Arizona.
Yeah.
I was a news reporter there. I really wanted to interview you. Have always been a fan of your work. And so I emailed the location that was hosting the event. They sent me to the management company of the event. They sent me to your team, and I'm an adamant person. Like when I want something, I gotta have it. And I finally got to Nancy, who works with you, and she was like, "The fact that you went through all this, I'm gonna set this up for you." We usually don't do a lot of interviews, and Nancy and I have become great friends. And so, for me, that was an amazing experience, and also taught me a lesson of like, don't stop trying, because since then I learned you like Albanese gummy bears.
Sure.
Because they're top quality and you like top quality things.
If you're going to eat gummies, get the best. That's it.
I remember that day. I remember how excited you were after the interview. And then you took the time with her all that time. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, that's, stick-to-itiveness is important for entrepreneurs, for anybody. If you want to get something done, you set a goal, you got to get it done. That's how it works. Very simple concept. I learned that years ago that you have to distinguish between the noise and the signal, and you've given me a good example there. Most people have three important things they have to do every day, and that's the signal, and everything that stops them from doing it is the noise, and you have to be able to differentiate between the noise and the signal.
Oh, we're going to get so many good stuff.
I know already. I'm like, maybe we need to start the
between
interview.
the noise and the signal list?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So Kolyn and I, for our little backstory, we started this docuseries ourselves. Kolyn directed it, I produced, and we both hosted it. And we've been distributing ourselves. We went international and distributed it in the UAE, which I know you love. We'll get to that. Europe.
172 territories, 72 countries.
And then we brought it to Nexstar, and they said, "Oh, we like this." After we built success on our own, and so that's why we wanted you to be one of our first guests, because you have that. You are the shining example of that entrepreneurial
Well, I
spirit.
appreciate that, but that's pretty good that you're able to do that. Distribution's the key to this. That's everything. So, I don't think we should think just domestically anymore. I love the idea that you're going to UAE and other countries, other jurisdictions. It's a global market, and people are very interested, particularly now that everything is so trade war-ish and country to country and tariffs, and it's all, China, it's all intertwined together.
I love that. So speaking of UAE, we found out you have a citizenship in UAE. Tell me how that came about.
Well, it's actually a residency golden visa. You have to get that first. I'm trying to get my full citizenship next. I started doing a lot of business over there and investing over there and setting up offices over there because if you look at AI as a new sector, which I think it's going to be huge over time, number one expenditure is the U.S., number two is China, but number three is UAE. Very few people know that, and they're specializing in agents, which are basically taking yourself and turning yourself into a version of yourself so that you can be everywhere all the time. My wife thinks that's very scary. But we've actually got AI Kevin now, and we did it in Abu Dhabi. So I'm going back there in a couple of weeks. I'm going to train the model even more. The challenge is with AI, most people can distinguish now between what's fake and what's real because of the voice.
Yeah.
But there's another iteration of the model coming in about a week that says, that's how fast it's advancing. They say this next AI Kevin, you will not be able to tell the difference.
Well, I understand why she's probably scared. I mean, if they recreating you again,
that's all the movies,
makes me,
goes.
yeah.
There's a lot of applications for it. The most controversial right now is in the area of acting. Tilly Norwell is an actor that's burst on the scene. She's 100% AI. She doesn't exist, but she's a great actress, and she can come at any age you want. She doesn't need to eat, so she works 24 hours a day, and the union's going out of their mind. And also in music, Velvet Sunset is a band that's on the top 10% of all downloads right now, and it's complete BS. Wow. They don't exist. It's just AI music. So it's coming, and I think you can't stop the advancement of technology. So I'm spending a lot of time investing in the advancement. Not everything I'm going to invest in is going to work, but the point is you want exposure into that space because there's so many mega trends. Blockchain is finally happening. That's another big one. Obviously, crypto is moving ahead now because of deregulation. They finally decided to allow it. All of this stuff is happening at the same time.
Aren't you worried, though, a little bit like what the people in the unions are saying? There's like something that's happening that may, it could be like, okay, we got rid of horse and buggy for cars. We got, we didn't get rid of radio for television. We have both. Like, but is there some warranted fear of like how much will we start using AI to replace the emotion and the raw, real Kevin that's right here versus the AI version of you that pulls and aggregates everything that you may or may not think? What if it responds differently than how you would have preferred?
Okay, it's a great question, and the union is the right way to approach it because here in America, SAG-AFTRA is a very, very important union for movie-making, television, social media, everything. Let's talk about a real use case. Let's say there's a movie I'm in that's coming out on Christmas called Marty Supreme. Timothée Chalamet stars in it. I'm Gwyneth Paltrow's husband. We worked on it for 8 months. Almost every scene had as many as 150 extras.
Wow.
Now, those people had to stay awake for 18 hours, be completely dressed, in the background, not necessarily in the movie, except they're necessary to be there, moving around. And yet it costs millions of dollars to do that. So when we shot in a French bistro, all of the, supporting actors behind, or at least the extras, were speaking French in a din. Like you couldn't tell, but you knew it wasn't English. Why couldn't you simply put AI agents in their place? Because they're not the main actors. They're only in the story visually, and save millions of dollars so more movies could be made. Right. That same director, instead of spending $90 million or whatever he spent, could have spent $35 million and made 2 movies if he was allowed to use. Now there's an issue right there.
But I feel like, I know business is not supposed to be emotional, but all those extras, like their dream could have slightly came true by being in the background of the Kevin O'Leary movie. I mean, like we are cutting them out of the equation.
Okay.
Think about it. I was thinking about this the other day. We were walking in the train station in New York, and I was just like, I would love to recreate this scene. But you can't do it under the budgets, especially with the inflation right now, especially with how much you have to pay actors. To get that scene done with 200 people walking through the train station, it's impossible.
Yeah, that scene cost $500,000 unless you did it with AI when all you needed was the actor. Then you're talking about it costing $35,000. And so I'd argue that for the sake of the art, you should allow it in certain cases. An extra is a really good use case because you can't tell the difference. You just put 100 Norwell Tillys in there and you're good.
Yeah, Norwell Tillys.
So let's talk about your affinity to the UAE, because one of our episodes that this podcast is airing right after just aired where we discovered UAE. We did everything you could think of.
But we love it there.
Spent time in Abu Dhabi. Kolyn left like, when you go on vacation in some places you're like, I would move here. Obviously you feel the same way.
Yeah.
Because you like it. What is it about the UAE or Abu Dhabi specifically that you have so much affinity for?
Well, I'm half Lebanese, half Irish, so I've grown up in that region, for decades. I lived in Cyprus, and I was in Beirut, and, been to Syria, Yemen, all of these places. They're part of who I am, where I grew up, where I went to school. And so, the Lebanese culture is very, very similar to the culture in the UAE in terms of how family works and how the society works. And I think they felt very comfortable with me that way in embracing me. Because remember, the leadership is, the country's only 53 years old.
Yeah.
And my father worked for the founder making the water system in Abu Dhabi. He worked for the ILO. So we have a long-term history there, and they know him.
Wow.
And he was my stepfather. So that, and I said, look, I'd like to come here because of this AI thing. There's another reason. I'm a huge watch collector, and each year, Watch Week in Dubai is the event. It's the event.
You hear that?
It's better than the one in Switzerland?
No, that's different. The one in
Okay.
Switzerland is very important. That's Watches and Wonder, and I go there too. The only two I go to, Watches and Wonder and Watch Week. Now, Watch Week is run by Hind Siddiqui, the daughter. what's so cool about her is that she brings forward the new watchmakers. She gives a platform for the new hot designer watchmaker that you've never heard of. That she gives that young maker a world platform, because you've got every major player in the watch world, every retailer, every collector going there. And I think no one else does it like that, because Watches and Wonder is for the multi-billion-dollar industry where you've got Cartier, you've got Patek, you've got Rolex, Omega, all that. But what if you're a guy that just made 17 watches and they happen to be amazing pieces?
Right.
Well, where's your forum? Where's your ability to communicate? Well, that's what Hind does, and I applaud her for it. I'm doing a panel with her on exactly that, because what I do, I'm a dial guy. I've got a lot of watches, so every time I buy a new piece, it has to be different. It has to be a different dial. And where are you going to find that? The new horologists, the new watchmakers. They're coming at it with a different vibe, a different look. And this is a good example today. Everybody knows the classic Rolex Daytona.
That's the watch of watches.
Everybody wants that watch worldwide. It's probably the most desired watch on earth. Try and get one. You wait for years. Look at this. This is probably in the aftermarket somewhere between $32,000 and $39,000.
Yep.
Maybe the retail price is $18,000 now. I don't know, but you can't get the retail price. Here is a watch made by a company called True North that I saw it on a woman's wrist at a lobster bake. And I said, what is that? She said, I got it from a guy named Eric Wind in Palm Beach. And Eric collaborated with this young maker, True North, and they came up with this. And I called up Eric and said, I love it. $300.
Yeah.
So, you want that vibe of something new, something old, something classic, whatever. This is just the art and science of watchmaking. But you dragged me down the rabbit hole.
Well,
he wanted to go down this rabbit hole.
Watches.
Yeah.
And so when you say you like dials, is it more about the looks? I'm a horology guy. I like movements. I like to be able to do different things, tell different type of times with my watch. So you like the colors, or do you like the look of the dials?
It's a very, very simple metric. Does the watch start a conversation? Does somebody come up to you and say, what is that? That's the definition of a dial. Mm-hmm. Because you don't need a watch. Your phone tells you the time better than any watch.
Yeah.
You're doing it to support this art of watchmaking, and you're doing it because you're thrilled to look down at your wrist and say, that is a beautiful painting on my wrist.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. That is a beautiful painting. That's a beautiful painting. And so I have many dials that when you see them, grown men weep. They just say...
Grown men.
Yeah. And look, I wish you wanted to talk about that. You had the opportunity, which I thought was really cool, to get a piece unique, one-on-one AP.
Yeah.
Walk me through that moment and those feelings that overcame.
That's a great question about watchmaking, because for a company like Audemars Piguet, which is one of the oldest watch companies in the world, to invite you in a collaboration where you design a one-of-a-kind piece, a piece unique, as you're suggesting, it means that you have arrived as a collector in a place where these people trust you, because when you make a piece unique, it becomes priceless. Yeah. I could sell that watch for millions of dollars today. There's only one of them, and it's bejeweled with rubies, and it was made for Shark Tank, and it was completely with a red sweep, secondhand. Everybody knows that watch in the world. In fact, when I waited 2 years for it. We worked on it for 2 years to get it just right. And I opened the box, I started to cry.
I saw.
It's crazy. Yeah. Because, imagine how big that was for me to actually get that, because as a collector, a piece unique is they're telling you you've made it to a place where we trust you to be ambassador, a steward of our art in perpetuity.
Yeah.
And the only time that'll ever come to market is ever after I'm dead, although that one's coming in the coffin with me, so I'm not worried about that.
Wait, so that's an agreement you guys had?
It's an unwritten agreement. I don't sell any pieces, which is why I get, great companies making me piece uniques. Chanel, I just bought a piece unique from them in an auction last year, and they made me a second piece unique to marry it on the right wrist.
Wow. One
of a kind from Chanel. Coco Chanel inspired from her nail polish. Where do you get to do that?
What's the material on it? I like the Chanel. I told Lindsey to get that one, the one with it's like the white ceramic, the white and black. So I like the ceramic.
Except this one has her nail polish interpreted in color with enamel and baked at 1200 degrees in a proprietary way. So it's spilt on the dial like a Pollock painting and then baked.
Oh, wow.
Every time I take that watch out. Every woman in the room says, "What is that?" and my daughter and wife are trying to steal it. They said, "That's for us. That's us. Well, what are you wearing that for? That's a Chanel." I'm saying, "It's not for you."
Right. Get your heart out.
You were getting emotional when we were just talking about.
Well,
that.
I love watches. What can I say?
And I think I remember when we first met. I think off camera after the interview, you were telling me about your mom and how your mom was just a middle class woman, but she taught you a really good lesson of like buy quality. You actually said, don't buy cheap nonsense to me.
You're
That's your
right.
advice to me. And I want to explain that because even still with $300 and $40,000, on both wrists, they're both good quality to you. So why is like in a world of fast fashion and why did you tell me to not buy cheap stuff?
Because I saw it happen. She was a working woman, but she loved Coco Chanel. So she bought the jackets and she could only afford 2 a year. So she'd buy 2 really expensive jackets. And then after she passed away, I'm the older brother, I became the executive of the state, and all the women in the family, extended family, it was like a cat fight. These jackets from Chanel from the 60s, 70s, and 80s are like vintage friggin' gold. People, they're beautiful, they're so well made, they look spectacular even today. That was the legacy of Coco Chanel. So when I saw that, I realized that Georgette was a genius because all her Chanel suits are now being worn by the 3rd generation. They're still wearing her jackets. And in vintage, they charge, they go for crazy, it's purses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the stuff
yeah.
that's going on with the purses and crazy aftermarket prices, the same with Chanel. And so, I realized that the great maisons, the Cartiers, the Chanels, they basically carry forward for over 100 years what people loved back then in the late 50s, where Coco Chanel was the first feminist. She put the red lipstick on. She was, dealing with the Germans in Paris and all this stuff. She had an affair with Picasso. Everybody knows this stuff, but her legacy lives on in her products today.
Yeah, I was listening to something the other day that says, if you copy someone's idea, someone can recreate it. But when you create art, no one ever can make that again because no one's going to have the experiences you have at that moment to recreate that art. So it's like in those Chanel pieces, her experiences are in that design. So it's like.
And in the watch you got.
Yeah, in the watch. I want to ask you, what do you think about this watch?
So I'm looking at that, a classic. That's a Rolex Sky Dweller, isn't it?
Yes, a Rolex Sky Dweller.
One of the most complicated Rolexes ever made. Most people do not know how to set the time on that because you have to lift the crown.
Yep, you have to.
It's very.
You have to turn the crown. Yeah.
But what is so amazing about that piece and why it's so striking, and I can tell from here what it is it's a unique dial.
Yeah.
The way Rolex has been able to integrate bands with their dials and come up with something like the Sky Dweller, that's a very coveted version of it with the black dial on it. Really, 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 really hard to get.
I want to tell you, it's really argumentative in our relationship to get.
How did you get that piece?
So I got it from Rolex. They called me. I got the call. They called me.
You bought it at retail?
Yeah, I bought it at retail.
Okay, that's a friggin' honor.
Yeah.
Like for them to decide that you should have one means you're a collector.
I am. And I was extremely happy. And Lindsey couldn't tell me nothing.
Yes,
I flew to New York because we were in Denver at the time.
I get it now.
Yeah.
She said, you have 72 hours to get here. I have your watch.
Yeah, that particular dial is extremely coveted. I have the champagne one, which I love. That came afterwards. It's beautiful. You're a very fortunate guy. I wouldn't walk around the streets of New York with that on.
I'm a big boy.
Okay, I got it. There's some other big boys out there looking for you.
There's a lot of big boys looking for you.
In fact, it's this kind of love of watches that got me into the watch insurance business.
Oh.
Because I realized, one of my collections was stolen years ago, and I had it on the home policy. I never read the fine print, and it gave me back nothing. The depreciated value of all my Rolexes. And
you did an article? You did an article?
Yeah, I did. But so what I said, this doesn't work. I got to be able to insure my watches based on the price that I have to replace them at. And so I created Wonder Care in a partnership with Chubb. And the first retailer to pick it up was Danny Govberg, 1916. We plugged it right into the POS system. It's like AppleCare. It generates using AI the policy in 9 seconds.
Wow.
So if you want to get that insured,
Come holler at
you
you.
should go to wondercare.com and check it out.
You hear that, guys?
What business are you not in? You're in, and I know that Nancy told me that you're investing in Bitzero, which is it covers data center, crypto mining, AI computing.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I just got back from Singapore 48 hours ago. I'm still in Singapore time. I'm doing there's so much going on right now in AI, data centers. Bitcoin is now, and crypto, and stable coins, and the Genius Act, and this Clarity Act, the Infrastructure Act, all this stuff in Washington, D.C. here going crazy. This is the epicenter of the new policy worldwide on crypto. So, yes, Bitzero is, one of the things for crypto that you need is power. People, to me, it's all backwards. People look at data centers as buildings. I look at them as power. So Bitzero is a power company. There's no more power left on the grid in America. If you want to put a gigawatt data center here in Washington, D.C., you can't do that because the price of your electricity in this building would go up 20%. Wow. Because the ratepayers would have to pay for the infrastructure. So that's not going to happen. But in countries like Finland and Norway, where they have an abundance of hydroelectricity and nuclear power, that's where Bitzero started getting power contracts and building data centers and Bitcoin mining facilities. They're agnostic. They don't care if it's a data center, an AI data center, Bitcoin mining. They have amazing power contracts. So yes, I'm an investor in that. It makes a lot of sense. The whole thing right now to think about on crypto is not just the Bitcoin thing. I get the Bitcoin thing, but it's been around a long time. What's occurring as we speak is Wall Street is crashing into the blockchain now, which we've been talking about for 12 years, but no one's used it yet. The idea that you're going to do inventory control management on the blockchain, or that you're going to run a stock exchange on the blockchain with perfect transparency, very fast, completely auditable in terms of, the regulator tracking transactions and all that. And so I went to Singapore, where they're having one of the largest conferences in the world, because I own Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. That's all I need to own. So the big daddy, Bitcoin, and then the 2 blockchains. I learned something, though, and you always got to skate to where the puck is going, that old analogy in hockey, right? Solana and Ethereum are very famous, but they're basically the first generation. They're single-lane highways, the way to look at it. And the cars all drive behind each other. When there's a jam up on Ethereum highway, it's because there's too many cars trying to get through the toll booth. That's the way to look at it. Same with Solana. So when you're doing a transaction, you're transferring some stablecoin to somebody around the world, and you're waiting like 9 minutes on Ethereum, you're saying, why is it taking so long? Why didn't it happen like that? Well, it's stuck at the toll booth, waiting for all the millions of other transactions. Same with Solana. I discovered this blockchain that was developed by Evan Chan, the guy that left Facebook. Remember, he developed a digital token for Facebook, and then the regulators clamped down on it, and he left. He's in a place called Miston Labs. He developed a blockchain called, in Japan they call it SUI, and here they call it SUI. It's S-U-I. It is so fast because it's multiple highway lanes simultaneously. So it's going through tolls billions of times. Like, it doesn't matter that you're in a car. There's no lineups anymore. It does it all simultaneously. So to me, when I saw that, I thought to myself, if I'm a retailer like Walmart or Target, and I'm going to do millions of transactions in 22,000 stores a day, I can't do that on Ethereum. I can't do it on Solana. I can do it on SUI. So that's what
My mind is like,
Right.
So I'm big on SUI now. That's my 4th position. I like SUI. That's where my puck is going in terms of an investor. I'm starting to accumulate there. I learned that in Singapore. You have to travel the world. This is why this show's so great. You gotta go, baby. You gotta go there.
It changed your mind.
Yeah.
It really it's turned me into a different person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't look at things the same. I don't look at people the same. Traveling around the world has turned me into, I don't even remember who I was. And I look at that person and I'm like, yo, how did you even think that way? I look at my friends back in Beaumont And I'm like, yo, like y'all gotta get out. Y'all gotta get moving and get out and travel the world and go see things, because it gives you a greater understanding of why things are, and especially history, because we cover a lot of history in the show. And I'm a history buff. I love history. And to look at things, you can look at patterns in life that mimics history, because they say time is not linear, time is circular, and everything happens over and over and over again.
You're right. I mean, if I hadn't gone there and I hadn't met the young engineers that develop, the whole thing's about the community in these blockchains. Who's developing the applications? These kids are the smartest engineers I have ever met, in their 20s and 30s. And I'm saying, why are you doing it on SUI? They said, this is where it's at, man. This thing is fast and it's safe. And that's what every enterprise wants. They need speed, but they need security. Yeah. And I'm licking my chops saying, whoa, baby, am I ever glad I came to Singapore.
Right. So that's how these, like, people just come up to you and give you these ideas.
Well, they actually held, the reason I went is they wanted to have a SUI Fest Shark Tank. They wanted me to be an investor and pitch engineering teams come and pitch me. And I'm listening to the pitches going, that's a great idea. Yeah. And I'm investing money in them. I'm saying, this SUI thing is a big friggin' deal.
Wow.
Because these guys are so that I got off the stage, I went, okay, new ball game here. Because I've been involved in crypto throughout the crypto cowboy days and the stuff with FTX and Binance and all that testifying I did at the Senate, I mean, all that crap. Now I'm in the good part of it, you know?
Oh, I want to ask you, I know you have to run, but why do you bother get involved with politics? You can just enjoy the day. And I know politics ties to business closely.
Yeah.
But you go on TV and get involved in politics, and you know the criticism comes with this, because that's what I do for my day job. I work for Rising as well.
I'm well aware.
Yeah. And but why? I could ask myself the same question, but you, why bother?
It's not that I'm involved in politics or politicians, because, you know, I don't shill for politicians. I shill for policy. I need to know the policy so that I can make the investment based on the policy. So the reason I'm so involved here in Washington now for the last 3 years is I'm right in there when they're writing these bills. Like the big beautiful tax bill, I worked on that bill from the advocacy side of small business. I read it was being developed between the House and the Senate, and I pointed out to some great senators there, like Haggerty, for example, Rick Scott, Ron Johnson. I said, guys, read this. This is against small business. I mean, this, and they said, oh, talk to the staffers. And I worked with the staffers. We found some really onerous stuff that it wasn't fair for small business between 5 and 500 employees, and they modified it accordingly. I'm an advocate for small business, and that's not politicians, that's policy. And when the bill finally came out that was repaired, I'm very proud of that work. I'm very proud of those senators to stand up for small business. But same thing on the Infrastructure Act, same thing on the Genius Act. I worked on that with Jill DeBrand and Haggerty for 3 years to get stablecoins through the door, because I use them in business, so that's policy. But I don't, if a politician calls me and says, let's come and endorse my campaign and, raise me money, I don't do that stuff.
It's always a no for you?
Of course it is, because listen, job creation is red and blue. I'm happy to work with AOC. I'm happy to work with any senator that wants to create a job. I don't care what their politics are. It's job creation. And that's how I stay sane. And I also stay out of trouble. And I go right down the middle. I can walk into red or blue office.
I bet
anywhere.
You sleep well at night, too.
Yeah.
So do you care when people are like, I'm going to move to Canada after every election in the U.S.? Because somebody's moving to Canada every time, and you're from Canada. Is it like annoying, like we don't want y'all, or is it funny, or what is that?
Well, I'm probably a good person to answer this, because my family's American. We moved, when I had my kids, they grew up and were born in Boston. And I'm a Canadian, and I'm also an Irish citizen and now an Emirati resident. So I look at it from, the multi-stool aspect. I think Canada and the United States have a huge opportunity to combine the economies. I'm not saying...
You want them to be the 51st state?
No, I don't want any of that sovereign stuff. What I would like, though, is to remove all tariffs between the two countries so we have energy independence against China and Russia, and that we defend our northern border with our money collectively, not against each other, because Canadians love Americans and vice versa. I know Trump is using it as a tariff thing, But really, Canadians have been dealing with Americans and vice versa since inception of the country. And so, this is just a negotiation going on, but ultimately what I would have preferred is a complete reduction of tariffs, zero. The indigenous people of America, the First Nations people, and the First Nations people of Canada are the same. They cross the border. There's no border for them. They walk across the border. They're completely one nation across North America. As a people, Canada and the United States should be the same. We should obviously provide a Euro-like passport, as they do, the First Nations, but the First Nations do not need to worry about their brethren south of the border. They can just go visit them. They don't need a visa. It's their land, and we recognize it, the two countries, so we should do the same thing with our people. We just have a background check and give a Canadian, a Euro-type visa, and an American the same. If they want to go up to Toronto or Montreal, go ahead. You're welcome. I mean, that's how it should be.
Yep. And that's important. I get it now, Kevin. Like, I mean, you're just a man of the people. And like, I understand how you do well in business. You do right by people, and you're trying to help out. Even though you made it to this height that you made it to, you're still thinking about small business. So, I mean,
look, I don't need more money. I need more time, and I want to give back, and I do. I invest in a lot of startups. I'm really loving working in the crypto space and the stuff I do with entrepreneurs. The political stuff, I'm fortunate to get to meet these leaders. The great thing about Shark Tank, it's like a passport all around the world. It's on in 54 countries. I show up in India, I show up, in Saudi Arabia or UAE or England or Ireland. I meet the leadership, because why? Their kids watch Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Every kid wants a Shark Tank picture. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's been that 18 years. We're in our 18th year.
They probably can recognize that feeling. I was talking to Lindsey about that, when you do good things on screen and people can recognize that feeling. I think that's what pops off the screen when we're doing our films.
Yeah, I mean, they call me Josh Safdie, when he shot the movie Marty Supreme, he called me up, was starting to cast for it. It was last summer, a year ago, July, and he said, "Look, we're looking for a real asshole, and you're it."
And somehow you still got the name, Mr. Wonderful. Well, listen, I know you have a lot to do on your busy schedule today. We obviously would love to talk to you any time of the year in D.C. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, not an AH to Kolyn and I.
No, I think you guys are a great show here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate you being one of our first in-person guests.
You're in my circle of friendship.
Yay! And the Gummy Bears sealed the deal.
Thank you.
So thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode of World of Travel, and stay tuned because we will be back next time. But until then, we'll see you later.
See you guys.
Thank you.